Hi everyone, welcome back to Safe Space. Today I wanted to do an episode solo by myself, and I didn't really have an agenda as to what I was going to talk about, but I think that's not necessarily true. It's not that I didn't have an agenda, but I wanted to just come on here and do a self-reflection, personal reflection on my life, on the previous podcast episodes, and see, where I am in my life, things that I wanted to reflect on, and just be vulnerable, be open, embrace that safe space that I wanted to create for myself and for the other people that are watching or listening. So let's just get into it. Before I get started, I do want to say that I will be having my tea. I wanted to do this episode to, like I said, reflect on my life, where I am. Things that I want to reflect on would be my mental health, personal life, the previous podcast, so just all of that, So I don't know exactly where to start, but I'll start with what I'm thinking of right now, and if I end up just cruising off into other directions and other topics, then I'll just let that be and let it play out as it should. Hopefully the mic can hear me and there are no issues there, but I don't know where to start, like I said, but self-reflection is never easy, and I do want to be vulnerable and open and create that safe space, not just for myself, but for those of you that might be, finding it challenging to go through certain, or to reflect on certain parts of your life. And I think everyone, including myself, have, like fears and vulnerabilities and trauma, some of them bigger than others, obviously. But I don't want to just talk about general topics and generalize and be vague about everything today. I do want to get more in depth about like my own personal reflection in my life and looking at everything that's going on. So for the past year, I just finished my semester in school, which is exciting, because then I get to have the whole summer to myself, and and just take that time to either go on vacation, spend time with friends, and reflect on my life and where I am. Just enjoy the weather, well, summer is definitely hot, but there are a lot of things that I will be doing this summer, so I'm excited that like my semester's over now. And for those that might be wondering what I am doing in school and what I'm going for, I am still going to school for my bachelor's, and I'm doing school part-time as I do work full-time right now. And my major is business analytics. That's, and based on like how I chose that major, so I did end up doing a program for a year, and it was related to software development, so that's more like programming, and I ended up getting hired by this company as the company that I work for right now as a business analyst. So I still work there full-time, and I do go to school part-time. I do the podcast as more of a, you could say, hobby, or just to help people or help myself create that safe space, and to just, I don't know, it's very hard to explain the purpose of the podcast, but it always felt like I wanted to help people, and I love doing community service and volunteer. And because I had such limited time with school and work, this is probably one of the only options I really had for like volunteer community service. It's not necessarily that I'm maybe like helping a lot of people, but it helps me, and hopefully it helps at least one person. If I end up growing the podcast to a bigger platform and having a bigger audience, I honestly would love that. And that's not necessarily, I mean, I didn't want to say that was not my goal, but I think it is. Eventually, I think I may not be there yet, but eventually I do want to get to that place. And that is very exciting for me because it's not necessarily, and I know like other people might think, oh, like it's for money and like social media is so big now. It's really not that. And honestly, like if it was for that, I wouldn't even be uploading on a regular basis, and I would just be doing it whenever I wanted, which I am doing it in a more flexible way, which is true, like uploading videos whenever I can. I try to do it every 2 to 3 weeks, but obviously that timeline can change because I don't have a specific commitment to the podcast right now. But it is a commitment that I made to myself, and a commitment that I wanted to make for like the community or the people that I might be helping, even if it's, like I said, one person, or in the future, like maybe like helping more people. And I want to see, I'm trying to think of what other reflections that I will be making on myself, I guess, or like, or my personal life. So I know with mental health, I do want to talk about that a little bit because, so I know it's not easy for anyone to be vulnerable, and it's definitely not easy for me either. But I think for the longest time, for a very long time, and I still am, sometimes realizing that I am living in fear, and I do want to change that. I don't want to, I always say this, I think as I get older, I realize there are people are very unique, and it's not like there's one type of person in the world, but as people get older, into their 60s, 70s, into very old age, maybe not 60s, older than that, but they tend to either become very like thankful and grateful for life and like trying to enjoy every little moment that they have, or they tend to go more towards like being bitter and being harsh with other people and being rude. And there are people that's just their personality, and that's okay. But I guess like looking at that and making a reflection on myself as I get older, if there's one thing that I don't want to do is become bitter, become rude with people. And that's not to say I'm never gonna have days where I feel that way and I'm gonna act that way towards other people, but I think as I get older, I definitely want to embrace life for what it is and accept life and understand that that things are not in my control, but I do have the opportunity to look at it in a way that is more optimistic and positive than looking at it in a way that's negative and then becoming bitter about it, becoming bitter about life and people, and living in fear and shutting people out, which I feel like, so I feel that I've been, I don't know if this is true, this is just a reflection of what I think, but it may not be true for maybe what other people see from the outside. From myself though, I feel like I've been really just avoiding certain things in my life and shutting things out, and becoming more fearful because of the experiences that I've been having with like the people around me in my life right now. And the reason that I'm doing this reflection video is to make sure that I can maybe make other people feel like they have that safe space, not necessarily here, like if they, I don't know how to explain that. There is a safe space in the world. There's always a safe space that you can find, whether that's with one person, whether that's with nature, whether that's with your pet. I don't know, but there is no guideline, there is no specific rule where you will find that safe space. And for me, there are so many places that I would call my safe spaces, and there are so many people that I would call my safe people, like a handful of them for sure. Not necessarily that they will be there for me all the time and support me, only because obviously everyone has their own struggles, everyone has their own challenges, everyday lives take precedence, and they have a lot of things to do. So I don't expect anyone to prioritize me. I think that's for everyone to do for themselves first. So I need to prioritize myself before I can do that for other people. Like, I can't help others without first helping myself, and that's a really good place to come from. But I also realized, like, for myself recently, I tend to maybe put myself first because I do have a lot going on. Then I end up either neglecting other parts of my life or neglecting other people in my life. And I've been reflecting on this for the past week or so, and it does make me upset that, like, my reality, I'm not going to go into detail about what is going on, but I will say, like, I wish that my reality was what I hoped it would be, or what I expected it to be. And I've been, it's definitely been hard trying to understand and make sense of where I'm going in my life, and like, accepting what it is in my reality, and kind of taking steps from there. It's really hard. I've been having, I will say, some family related issues, and just personal, like, mental health issues. I think being busy with school and work definitely affected that too. But then whenever I do have any issues in my relationships, whether that's with family or friends, anyone that I consider, like, near and dear to my heart, I tend to get very upset, because I will admit that I truly value relationships, and I truly value, like, the people that are close to me, and that I called my loved ones. And when things don't go as expected, I think I tend to get, not just me, I'm sure other people maybe can relate to this, but I do get very upset, and it's hard to sometimes bounce back from those experiences, and I think I've been in the thick of that recently, trying to really understand my emotions, trying to really, like, understand other people's actions towards me, or the actions that they take in their lives for themselves, and how that affects me. Sometimes I do think about, if I am taking things too personally, or if what I expect from people in my life is too much. And I honestly don't know the answer to any of these questions. And I think I will admit the reason that I'm doing this episode and doing this self-reflection is because I do feel very lost, and I do feel very out of control recently. And it does affect my mental health. It affects the decisions that I make in my life. It affects my daily mood, and how I approach my everyday interactions with people, how I approach my work. What I would say, would I love to be more, like, positive on a daily basis? Yes, but I will be honest that that hasn't been my experience recently, and it's definitely been very, very, very challenging to keep my emotions in check, and do the work that I have to do each day with my daily tasks at work and school. And thankfully, like I said, my semester is almost over. I'm almost done with all my exams and stuff. So I'm definitely happy about that. And like I said, there's always something positive to take out of every situation, regardless of what that situation is. But it definitely has been affecting my mental health, everything that's been going on in my life. And I sometimes think about it too, like social media. I go on there and I hear, like, all of the news that are going on all around the world, all the bad things that are happening. And sometimes I will talk to some of my friends, and I will say, I don't really like watching the news, and I don't really like talking about certain political issues, and not even just political, but like the news and the bad things that are going on in the world, and just those conversations that go into the thick of all of that. It's not that I don't care about those big issues that are going on. I think I am deeply affected by the things that I hear and see on social media and on the news, that I tend to just avoid watching them, avoid seeing them. And maybe that's not a very good way to handle, real life experiences that other people have that are very painful and challenging for others. And I certainly understand that, and I think that's why, because I'm so deeply affected by it, and I try my best to help the people that are close to me that I see on a normal basis. I actually lost track of my thoughts, but yeah. So I think I was saying, because I try to help, I tend to try to help people more within my close circle. So basically, what I was mentioning before, in terms of feeling out of control with my emotions, with my life, and things just feel like they're out of proportion and things aren't what I expect them to be. So I try to, help that feeling for myself by trying to focus on what I can control, which is my inner circle of group of friends and family and people that I see and talk to on a daily basis or on a regular basis. So I feel like, not that I don't care about other people's pain and challenges and struggles, but I think I try to remedy that for myself by helping people closest to me and people that I see on a normal basis. And honestly, as a self-reflection, I'm thinking about me talking about this and trying to validate why I don't watch the news, and trying to validate why I do something the way I do. But I feel like that's another thing that I have been trying to do for so long, and I think I mentioned that on my New Year goals, is to trust myself more and not care about what other people think so much. And I think I've been doing really well, and that was actually something I wanted to talk about on the self-reflection too. I have been learning to do things for myself, even if it doesn't mean other people agree with me or are supportive of me, even if it's people very, very close to me. And that is exactly what my experience has been recently, and that's why I've been going through challenging times and why it's been difficult. And I know everyone has their own struggles and issues, and so what I see on social media and on the news is not to say that those are better or worse than mine. And it's not even comparable. I don't think it's helpful for anyone to sit down and look at other people's lives, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes it's good to look at other people to reflect on yourself and where they are versus where you are, and if that's not where you want to be in your life, and then you make a change and you set different goals for yourself and take a different path. And that's not easy at all. Life, I'm sure people can relate to this. COVID has, after the pandemic happened, a lot of things have changed, and a lot of things happened in a lot of people's lives. Some people came together with their families, and they still live together. Other people struggled financially, lost their jobs. So many people had relationship issues. A lot of people had really great experiences spending time with family again that they haven't, lived with in years or seen that much in so long. But I think it's good to acknowledge that everyone's experience is different and everyone's experience is unique, regardless of where they live, where they are in their life, what kind of how they present themselves to the world. You could see one thing on social media about someone and they might be living a totally different life. And that's not to say that's a part of reality. I think it is a part of reality that everyone needs to accept, that there is social media which shows us sometimes very unrealistic parts of people's lives and an unrealistic expectation of what life should be. But at the same time, there is a part of the world that cannot be shown ever, which is real life. And what I'm referring to is like there's a part of our daily lives that we can't show on social media because it is real life. It is raw and real and deep and full of emotions and experiences. And I feel like social media just takes that and puts that into like one picture or one video and just cuts everything else out of it and all the realness of our experiences out of it. And I think a lot of things get lost in transit that way, and meaning like a lot of things are kept out of what we see on social media and very unrealistic in so many ways. And there are so many good things about social media with like people connecting and people like putting their messages out there, people spreading positivity. There are also not so great things, you know. It's about how you look at it. And it's very, for me, it's definitely been very challenging to stay off of social media, but I do not have a lot of social media accounts anyway. A long time ago, I closed my Facebook account, my Snapchat account. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. I think, yeah, I only have Instagram at this point. So, and well, YouTube because of the podcast. But yeah, I think I tend to keep in touch with people directly through like messages or just meeting up with people, making plans. And I think that's a better way to, that's a better way to approach life in general anyway. I don't think it's good to be, you know, glued to our phones and just experiencing life through social media. Like I said, it's a very unrealistic view of the world in so many ways. It's just not helpful, in some ways, for sure. And I don't know what else I want to reflect on, but that was a lot, just what I talked about. Like, I'm definitely, like I said, there are a lot of fears and vulnerabilities that I'm still scared to like face in my life, and so many emotions, so many experiences from my past. I think in the recent times, in the recent like few weeks, or let me rephrase that, in the past few weeks and in the past month or so, I've been doing so much like healing and taking care of myself, and just really like embracing everyday life regardless of how I feel that way, and just sitting in my emotions and sitting in silence and going hiking or just going to a cafe and to sit and like read a book, or spending time with people and just really trying to be in the present moment. I feel like we miss a lot of things in life just by like distracting ourselves with like watching TV and watching shows and movies and you know, on our phones, on social media. We distract ourselves. Like not last week, but on the last episode with Selena, we were talking about how we went to a restaurant and there were two guys sitting next to us on their phones, and I just feel like that's such a big distraction and such a disconnect that you create for yourself from the real world when you're just constantly distracting yourself from the discomfort of what you're experiencing in the moment. Even if it's not discomfort, you're taking yourself out of reality to experience like a very distorted reality. Like you're on your phone, you're at a restaurant, you're supposed to be having, I understand if you're having food by yourself, but if you're there with another person, why not talk to them, you know? Why not have a conversation? Why not just talk about things that are going on in your life? Even if you know that person so well that like you see them every day and stuff, there's still so much that is hidden inside someone's mind and their experiences. Just because you see someone every day and you talk to them every day doesn't always mean that you're experiencing them to the fullest and you're experiencing that person 100%. And there are so many things that people do to distract themselves, to maybe like distort their reality and just like to escape from reality. I know maybe this is not a very good example, but I know a lot of people that like play video games, or people that drink and party. I'm not judging people, and I think those are really good hobbies. If you like, you know, like partying, like going out and dancing is like fun, and like for one example, one of my favorite things to do is like to dance. So like I understand, I'm not judging people for that. And playing video games, I used to do that when I was younger. I enjoyed it so much, and I think it's a good hobby to have. And if you know that you enjoy it, and if you know it brings you like any benefit, I think it's great to just keep doing things that you know are helpful for you. And you can't always be not doing something. Sometimes, you know, like you just want to distract yourself and you want to just enjoy the moment, and I think that's perfectly fine. So I'm referring more to like people that might be doing it all the time, to the extent where it's like it's just so excessive that it's not really good for you anymore. I think it's always good to reflect on your life and yourself and the goals that you have in your life, where you want to go, where you are currently. And I think the reason that I'm talking about this today is because I have been thinking about all these things recently, reflecting on my life and things that I want to stop doing, and things that like I have, you know, that I have been doing that I'm like, yeah, this is not serving me anymore, and things that are just not good for me. Sorry, I got distracted, but let me gather my thoughts, and then I'll probably start to close out and like wrap up my thoughts anyway, because it's been a long video, long podcast episode. So it was very much needed. This reflection was very much needed, because I've been doing this by myself for like I said, for the past few weeks for sure. But sometimes it's good to sit down and talk to yourself, talk to other people, feel what you're feeling in the moment, let go of control, let life take its course. And it's okay to be fearful of what's to come, be fearful of if things are gonna stay this way forever. Like that's been one of my worries or fears for a while. And you know, I think it's okay to have these thoughts. It's okay to think these things and feel these things, but I try not to get attached to those fears, because a lot of times they're not very realistic. It's like you in your head just like churning away, you know, like feeding those like negative thoughts back into your mind constantly. And the more you like stay stuck on that, the more you're just feeding into it, and then you're stuck more. And that's also why I mentioned distractions before. It's definitely not good to have distractions where you just get away from reality and you just shut people out, shut everything out. And it's a form of avoidance, I guess maybe you could say. But I am thankful for the progress that I've been making on my self-reflection. I am still going through very challenging thoughts and emotions on a daily basis, but I wouldn't say they're horrible, and they don't stop me from doing the things that I need to do, and at least I don't let them stop me, I could say. But I do want to say, for whoever is listening and whoever joined this podcast episode, I thank you so much for sitting here with me and letting me share my thoughts, I guess, and doing a self-reflection on where I am in my life and my personal life, things that are happening, my thoughts, emotions, things that I've been going through. And I will try to take a guest on again soon. I don't know who it will be, but hopefully it'll be a good episode. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming ones as well. But I don't really have much else to say. So I wish you all a good week. Well, it is earlier in the week for me, but if you're coming closer to the weekend, or you're going into your weekend, I mean. I wish you a good weekend and a good week. I hope you enjoy the time that you had here. I don't know, maybe I'm just blabbering on at this point, so I'll just close it out at this point. Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and if you are on YouTube and listening on the video, you can leave a comment, you can like the video, you can subscribe, and if you're on Spotify, I appreciate you tuning in as well, and I will see you next time. Bye.